Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. President Muhammadu Buhari keeps Petroleum Ministry, assigns other portfolios to ministers. Babatunde Fashola heads Power, Works and Housing, Lai Mohammed Information, Chibuike Amechi for Transportation, Kemi Adeosun assigned Ministry of Finance, Abubakar Malami, Justice Ministry, and Abdul Rahman Dambazo as Interior Minister. President Buhari reduces the number of ministries to 25. And Myanmar President Thein Sein congratulates Aung San Suu Kyi's opposition party on its success at the polls. A quick reminder that all our top stories are on our website, channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. And do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. And we urge you to interact with the Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app on the Android, iOS, and Windows platforms. If you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the app on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions. Well, we can now share with you some of those pictures that were sent in to us. First is this one showing the Nigerian police officers helping a driver push his car to avoid a traffic build-up in Zone 3, that's in the FCT, Abuja. Our Eyewitness reporter says the police officers offered to help the driver, and he sees this act as commendable. In contrast, we have this one showing a civilian being brutalized by a military officer. Our Eyewitness reporter says this happened in the Apapa area of Lagos, and he wants the government to put such officers in check. Finally is this one showing a gridlock on Ikorodu Road. Our reporter says this situation has become a regular occurrence on that road, and the authorities should look into it. Well, thanks for sending in all your pictures, and we do expect to receive more from you. Now let's stay with our lead story now, the inauguration of the ministers as well as their portfolios being given to them. Joining me now to discuss this is a professor of international law and jurisprudence, Professor Akin Oyebode. Thanks a lot for joining us, Professor, on the News at 10.
Okay.
Well, I remember the last time you were here, you had spoken about the seeming slow pace of government. The ministers are in place now. What do you think?
Well, it took a long time coming, 6 months or thereabout. And it seems the more things change, the more they remain the same. The list of ministers, to me, looks like a mixed bag. You have some very brilliant and interesting people with tremendous antecedents, and some a little bit less so. So I have the feeling that we have a bittersweet experience with the ministers that have just been appointed, especially in relation to the portfolios assigned. That would be my prefatory remarks on these ministers.
We'll get to that. But some of those ministries have been merged, and we now have 25. Do you think it would make a difference now?
Well, the government came in with a promise of change, that things must not remain what they've been hitherto. And because of the paucity of funds in the Nigerian economy, there's a deliberate attempt to save funds by merging ministries that can be merged and doing away completely with ministries like that of the police, for instance, which we don't hear of anymore. I think the president wants to rationalize and mainstream his efforts in the context of the manifesto of his party, emphasizing reconfiguring the economy in terms of job creation, and the fight against corruption, I think, is there, and also building the infrastructure, social infrastructure that has gone into tatters before they came on board. I think the focus of the government is diversification of the economy, so that we just will not rely or continue to rely on petroleum products. So we have to look into other areas like solid minerals, agriculture, and that type of thing. So I suppose that these are the things that inform the president in streamlining and enforcing a slimming diet on the Nigerian bureaucracy.
Well, looking at the president's remarks, he talked about putting round pegs in round holes. Let's look at some of the appointments now. We have Babatunde Fashola, Power, Works and Housing. What do you make of that?
Well, you look at the antecedents of Fashola as a multitasking person with hands-on experience. Don't forget, Tunde Fashola was Chief of Staff to Bola Tinubu in terms of the efforts by the Tinubu administration to begin transforming Lagos. And then for the last 8 years, he's handled things that are involved in this type of responsibilities that Buhari has thrust onto him. I hear he's being called now the deputy president in waiting, something
One
similar.
of those things online.
Yes, something similar to the epithet granted Ngozi when she was called coordinating minister, Okonjo-Iweala. So we have a vice president in place, but when you put somebody in charge of power, in charge of housing, in charge of works, now that's a mega ministry. I know he has an assistant, that's a junior minister, Minister of State, but then nothing succeeds like success. Fashola did a lot in Lagos State in terms of transformation. And I think President Buhari wants to exploit the antecedents and his track record as a miracle worker. And I think it's a challenge which Tunde Fashola will rise up to.
What about those some who criticize to say, oh, much of that was at state level, now you're stepping onto a federal stage, national politics. Will that come to play in that instance? No,
the Yorubas say that money chose the day. He has proven himself in Lagos State, and the reward for hard work is more work. He did well in Lagos State, and people are asking him to replicate his success story at the federal level. Because if you solve the power issue in Nigeria, you will agree with me that at least 60 or 70% of the problems of Nigeria will be solved. And he has experience with IPP. Then the type of construction work that he did, although he's been criticized for not giving vent to the poor, his housing scheme definitely was not for the poor. But the fact that he's had the experience, I think is going to put him in a very good stead, because he will have more resources to play with to ensure that the whole country feels his impact. Okay. And something tells me that that could actually help him come 2019. I don't know what his plans are, but if he succeeds with this mega ministry and people continue to swear by his name, then of course he has it made for 2019.
Okay, let's quickly look at education. We see the appointment of Professor Anthony Onwuka, Minister of State for Education, and Adamu Adamu, Minister for Education. Are you satisfied with that balance?
Now that is a tragedy. Because I know Tony Onwuka, we were both vice chancellors more than 10 years ago. I think it's a case of the tail wagging the dog. A professor who has run a university should now be a sidekick to an accountant turned columnist. It can only happen in a country like this. It's like putting Larry Summers, when he was president of Harvard University, to be an appendage to somebody else. Obama would never have made such an error. And I think Tony Onwuka deserves more than that. And not just a question of what he deserves. He knows education. I don't know what expertise or knowledge or track record Adamu, I used to read him in the New Nigerian many years back. But that does not, in my view, qualify him to be Minister of Education. Education is hydra-headed. It's so intense in terms of the problems, because human capital development is not a job for dilettantes. It's not a job for experiments. You have somebody, a professor, who has run a university. Running a university is like running a whole state. And you now reduce him to, as I said, a sidekick of somebody who has no competence. The core competency is missing from Adamu. So that's why, as I called it, it's a case of the tail wagging the dog.
Okay. Every economist that we've spoken to has talked about the need, let us know policy direction in terms of the economy. Are we in a recession? Now we have the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udo Udoma. We also have Kemi Adeosun for Finance. How do you see that particular balance and the team? Are these the people who are going to drive this new economy now?
With due respect to Kemi Adeosun, I don't think she has the gravitas to be the tsar on the economy because I listened to her biodata. She has a degree in applied economics from University of East London, not from Oxford or Cambridge, not even from any of the Russell schools. But the fact that she worked in Ogun State and worked with an investment outfit in Lagos does not give me sufficient confidence that she could handle the Nigerian economy. In fact, Udo Udoma, my friend, is a lawyer, although he's been a corporate player. He's been chair of USC, he's been chair of SEC, so he has experience of how the economy works. Maybe what the president will need and will require is a team of hardcore economists that might work behind the scenes to help them formulate policy. I'm talking of people like Bismarck Rewani, Henry Boyo. There are all sort of heavy-duty economists in this country. When you're talking of economists, you look for the experts and not somebody with a first degree in economics to handle what we now call the Africa's largest economy. I mean, it's a rude joke.
Sorry, finally, Prof, when do we begin to expect concrete results from the team?
Well, we know this statement in Nigeria that has become hackneyed. It's like a cliche. You hit the road, you hit the ground running, as your report said. I can't see results before the first quarter of next year, when it must have settled in and we'll have inklings of policy shifts, policy somersaults, or whatever direction. And it's my hunch that before too long, President Buhari might need to do a review of the allocation of ministries. I'm talking of rejuggling and rejigging the cabinet. So a cabinet reshuffle, in my crystal ball, is not far-fetched at all.
Professor of International Law and Jurisprudence, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the News at 10 tonight.
Yeah.
Now, when the News at 10 returns, former investment banker and accountant, as we reported, Kemi Adeosun, is Nigeria's new finance minister. We'll look at that on Business. Do join us again.